Hi there, listener. You're about to experience TADPOG. Tyler and Dave play old games, and there will be plenty of game talk, but also copious amounts of crude, off-color, offensive, and immature speech. So if you are of a rather sensitive humor constitution, we're just letting you know what you're in for with this show. It has games. It has jokes. You know, just games and jokes. Take the games, take the jokes, and have a good time.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to another TADPOG podcast.
That we're totally not recording immediately after an episode that we just did.
Yeah.
It's totally a different day.
Not completely, like literally 2 to 3 minutes between.
Oh, we're full rested. We actually just woke up.
I had to drive home, and then I drove back immediately.
Oh, thanks for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, I understand that we got to keep things pure. You know,
Yeah.
every episode has to be informed by at least like several hours.
We need to
Yeah.
of
And
everybody needs to
honest.
sleep.
being
Right.
in a car.
If Billy Mitchell's taught me anything, it's that I need to be honest.
It's a podcast for three old guys, two old guys, and one guy that is slowly marching toward the inevitable death. But Dave and I are just a little further down that path than he
Yeah,
is.
we're gonna beat you. I defy you to die before us, Paul.
hey, I'm only 29. I'm not officially dying until I'm 30. Like that's how it works.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
All right.
29 years old, 29 stony gray steps towards the grave, you know, the box. It's got a little jazz in there. But
Yeah, you put some English on it. I appreciate it.
So this is part 2 of Dave and Paul's Great Chicago Excursion.
Yeah, more goofs in this one, we promise.
Maybe.
possibly.
I am Dave, your bespectacled host.
Yeah, I'm your bear toast, Tyler.
Don't have an intro.
I'm the guest host, Paul.
I don't even care.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
It's not about Billy Mitchell anymore. So wait, everything else just tastes like ash in your mouth.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say your name was Billy Mitchell? Oh, no, you didn't. No, I don't give a shit. All right.
You're just gonna start going door to door. Can I talk to you about our Lord and Savior Billy Mitchell?
Do you have a moment?
Oh my God.
Let us all pray.
This is all gotta sound so weird to someone who is not familiar with King of Kong. Like,
Everyone's familiar with King of Kong. Everyone is. Not just video game people. Like it was, Walter at the con was saying that like, I can't remember the name of the site, but they were like looking over like the last 10 years, they took 3,000 films and ranked them in importance. And I think he said King of Kong was like 19 on the list.
Jeez.
And I fucking believe it because like that is a game that's like, that is a movie that I feel like, I can talk about that movie with my mom.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's rare where it's like something that
It's
about
that
video
in
games.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's that Jurassic Park and Free Willy, where I pissed off about.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Free Willy.
oh boy.
But I feel like Billy Mitchell's a household name, and if he's not, he should be.
Whenever you said "Let us pray," I wish so badly I could make a Pac-Man noise. So, besides the con, you
Yeah.
guys did some other awesome things in Chicago.
Yes. Let's do it chronologically. Because while I was watching Man vs. Snake, like the last thing at the con.
Yeah, they had the Clockwork Orange thing that kept your eyes open,
Right.
forced you to look at the screen.
Yes.
You know, just like subliminal messaging and all that.
And then at the end, I felt like loved and wanted, and all my desires were fulfilled in life.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so while he was out there, one of the things that I wanted to do while we were out there is go to an arcade called Round One, which I briefly mentioned in the intro to the last episode. If just to put it in shorthand, it's Dave and Buster's, but more aimed at anime geeks. They have a lot of video games straight from Japan. In my particular wheelhouse, they have a lot of the Bimani rhythm games. Stuff like Beatmania 2DX, Sound Voltex Gravity Wars, Musica, which is the newest one over there. They have Taiko Drum Master. They have the arcade version of the Hatsune Miku Project Diva game.
You just made Mike H very happy. I feel like.
Yeah, I'm sure.
With all he's like totally like fully erect right now.
Yeah, he came so hard he's shooting powdered milk right now. But yeah, they also had poppin' music. They had let me see, Dance Dance Revolution. They had
You sent me a picture of Pump It Up.
yeah, they had two Pump It Up Fiesta 2013 machines that were constantly in use. A lot of people play. Like one of the things that really struck me about this trip, because I've been around one before, but it wasn't quite so packed. Like, I mean, granted, I wasn't going on a Saturday night. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But like, you know, there were a lot of people there, and even on Dance Dance Revolution, it felt like everybody was better than me. Like, DDR is my signature game, and just everybody is fucking crushing it. You know, like
you're very good at rhythm games. Like that's your fucking thing.
Yeah, and like, I mean, to be fair, like if I had put the level of training that I had into Dance Dance Revolution, I think that I'd be closer to on par with the people that were playing playing certain games. But it was just one of those things. DDR was the only thing where I was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm embarrassing myself. You know, like, you know, it was just remarkable. And there was just always a line for everything. Like, they had like the Sound Voltex, like they have this little feature where you can pay extra credits and you'll get like these little trading cards that print out, you know, and so there's rare ones and there's less rare ones and all that stuff. And so what people would do is they had their own personal card, you know, and they would lay them out in like a line. So it's like, okay, the person that owns this card is next. Because if people had just stood there waiting in line for those things, then it would be really unwieldy for everybody to be, you know, standing around. So they would just be like, okay, well, I'm going to put my card down, and I know that a game takes about 10 minutes, so I'll check back in 10 minutes, make sure that the next person in line got on. If they didn't, then we skip to the next person in line, and so on and so forth.
It's a game we like to call Welcome to Olive Garden. they give you a buzzer, and when it's your turn to dance on the machine, it buzzes and you go.
But
I bet your finger blast game is on fleek with that.
Oh man!
How did you do it, Bean Flicker?
Diddle master.
Oh man, just hammering it in. Yeah, that's what the ladies like, right? Is this audio picking up?
It is not at all, but that is.
Does it like to be furiously pressed like a button?
But yeah, I mean, so they had all of those games that I very rarely get the opportunity to play. Like they tend to have them at certain anime conventions I go to. There's a group called Tokyo Attack that they get machines from Japan to anime conventions. The only one that they were missing that I really wish I could play was a game called U-Beat, which it's like a grid.
It's a lot like Bean Flicker.
It's a Baltimore police simulator.
Oh jeez. But yeah, it's like a grid of like 16 squares, and like each of those squares is an individual little screen, you know, and they light up, you know, and like it's kind of like whack-a-mole, except like it's keyed up to whatever song, so like it's all in sync with the song, you know, and that's how you pick up patterns and things like that. And it's really cool. I'm not doing it justice, but I can show you a couple of videos online of it.
Paul, you talking about patterns reminds me that
that Billy Mitchell is our Lord and Savior.
In the panel, Billy Mitchell was giving people Donkey Kong tips. Pretty nice of him, huh?
Oh my God!
It's like Jesus telling parables.
Yeah. But he did make pizza out of thin air. I could see that happen.
But yeah, so I played like I said, I went to that when Dave went to the movie, and that was like I left the show floor at like maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 7:30, something like that.
Yeah. So I got there just a little bit before 8, and I didn't leave until
Took an Uber.
Yeah, didn't leave until they closed at 2 a.m.
Took an Uber.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Taking
Yeah.
an Uber.
You said like my dad when he discovers a new word. You take an Uber? An Uber? Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm glad that came across because I've never taken an Uber.
I hear they're nice. I've never taken one either.
Yeah, me and Chandra took a few when we were at Chicago last. So, that was the main reason that I was comfortable with it instead of just cajoling you into giving me a ride.
I appreciate that because I really didn't want to go. I wanted to watch Man vs. Snake, and I'm so glad that I did because my eyes have been opened to the gloriousness.
But yeah, so that was a good 6 hours that I spent there just playing various rhythm games. When it got a bit too crowded, I discovered, because I thought that they weren't going to have this at this location. I saw that they had advertised that they were bringing. It turns out that it's the sequel to this that they're testing at other locations, and this is the older version. But it's a arcade game that Square Enix produced called Gunslinger Stratos, and you have two light guns, right? They look like revolvers, kind of fancy and anime style. And, you have these little analog sticks on both of them. One of them controls your character, you can move around with it. And one of them controls the camera. You can flick around between targets, or you can do free camera stuff. And
your bean flicker skills come in really handy.
But yeah, so you run around and you shoot people on the other team. You have I think it's 20 characters that you can choose between, and they all have their own strengths. They all have different guns and all that stuff. And they have multiple weapons that they cycle through. So you have either the guns akimbo, where you're holding both of the guns like this, and then the guns, they have these magnets on them so that they can fuse together side by side for a different kind of weapon. On the main character, it's a shotgun. So and then on other characters, it's more of a homing missile or machine gun type thing. And then they have a different set of magnets on the top of one and the bottom of the other, and they fuse together into that character's heavy weapon, usually a rocket launcher, or a big old laser beam, or something like that. And it's so goddamn anime. Just
it looked really cool. I was able to see this, and it is very Japanese, and it hasn't been localized at all.
Yeah, they managed to, for the purposes of this, they've translated the menus enough to where you can figure out kind of what you're doing. I didn't get the special card that you get to save your progress, because it's much like the Bimani games where they have the e-amuse pass, which will save all your progress, all your high scores, all the songs you unlock to a profile that you have persistently online. And they have one of those for Gunslinger Stratos, but it's a different card that you pay $8 for that I'm not going to get to use unless I go to round one again, which won't happen for a good long while, just because I would probably have trouble convincing Chandra that we need to drive 8 hours just so I can go to an arcade for all my weeb shit.
I want to thank you. I sincerely want to thank you for coming up with the name for the shooting range I'm opening for children. Guns Akimbo.
Oh man. But yeah, so that was really cool. It was one of those things where I spent 1 credit just doing the tutorial that took a good at least 7-8 minutes, because it's just them explaining, and some of it's very simple stuff that I could have intuited, where it's just here's how you move, but then it's here's how you double jump and fly across the screen, and things that wouldn't be easy to pick up on if I hadn't been told that specifically, So that was really cool, And
it looked amazing. The screen was huge. The screen was this. It was half of your wall essentially in here, Tyler, and it was a very high definition screen.
One thing that I really like, when you put in your credit, it doesn't immediately go to the thing. There's no start button on the thing. And you can just, and like, I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I just pointed the gun at the screen and pulled the trigger, and like, it's like you shot the screen, it's like a big glass thing, and then like, you shoot it a bunch and just crash through the screen into the first menu, and I was just like, okay, they get me, but yeah, like you've got like your typical guy that looks like your high school delinquent archetype, your typical anime hero who's, kind of the speedster type. You've got your heavy type, he's got a couple of miniguns and he's all about manliness, he's just so strong, all that stuff. There's a guy that literally, like, his opening animation, like he jumps in, does a flip, and then does a Nazi salute. And I really want to know what the context for that is.
His name translates to "if we hadn't been bombed."
Ooh, yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, so there was just all that kind of stuff. And then of course there's the chick that is just all tits, dressed in a skimpy policeman's uniform. I
Did anybody call a policeman?
Officer, all tits.
Thank you, Officer Nasty. That's a Frasier deep cut. But
That's how we
now
do.
I remember it. Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, and like her alternate costume is like her in like a thong and bikini, but also a cowboy hat. So
Don't worry, I'm still a cop, guys.
she is blonde. So maybe that's just what they think Americans are. I don't know.
I'm
the
okay with
alternate
it.
costume to be like a parka and sweatpants.
Oh man, but yeah, so I just had all kinds of fun like messing around there, and like in between games I would occasionally one of the things that I do for fun around here is at Dave and Buster's I've learned some of the games that I can kind of exploit for tickets, and round one is not particularly friendly to what people in my community call advantage players. Like Dave and Buster's kind of accepts the loss and considers it, advertising. Round one, they change the settings on games, to combat people that are winning too much. Like
okay.
just short of taking people out back and beating them up.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the comparison right there. But they. So there was one game that I know of that isn't a particularly profitable game, but if you wait for a bunch of people to lose at it, it'll be primed to be easier to win.
It's called a slot machine.
But this thing called a quick drop, it's a thing where you have to drop 50 balls into these rotating buckets. You have a very set amount of time to get it, but after a certain point, after the because every time somebody misses it, the progressive jackpot gets higher, And so, like, I noticed that it's past the point where it's actually kind of easy to win if you know what you're doing. Just drop 4 balls in every bucket, and you're pretty much golden anytime the jackpot's above, say, 700, So I was just like, oh, shit, I can do this. And then I did, and then I got all this junk for you guys,
Which we ate on
thank
last
you.
episode.
I also got this little Gundam model. It's a cute little bear thing. With
Okay,
like
so
1,000 tickets.
I'm still confused by this because when you asked the guy to get you the red Gundam model, he went and got this teddy bear
Well,
in a
it's
box.
yeah, it's I don't know the I don't know the series that it's from particularly well, but
It's petite guy.
yeah, it is a Gundam series. It's one that is based around building Gundam models. Like it's about a kid that gets into the hobby and goes into competitive model building because they have things where they'll build them, paint them in interesting ways, and like pose them in like dioramas and shit like that.
So this is from a thing?
Yeah, this is like one of the I think that's one of the first ones that he makes in that thing. It's a fairly simple model. But yeah, it's a cute little thing. I'm gonna build it and put it on my desk at work. But yeah, it's little snap together models that they do.
It is cute.
But-
Tyler, we have something we need to show you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at round 1, they have a lot of Japanese things. They have all those Japanese arcade games. They have the UFO catchers, are kind of the variants on the claw machines where it's more about knocking something off a platform than like actually picking it up. And they also have the little photo booths, like the really high-end ones, with like Japanese models and shit on it. And so Dave and I was super glad that he got there before they closed because I really wanted to do this with him. So we got a set of pictures taken for the thing.
We had our photos done.
I feel like we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I feel like we fucking nailed it.
Yep. Anybody who saw that should think you're celebrating your anniversary.
That's what we were going for. Anime anniversary.
Oh, the anniversary.
Yeah.
I did the thing. But yeah, they also have a thing where they connect you to like an app online. So, but only one of those pictures I can download for free, which is kind of bullshit.
Yeah. I'll scan that in. Scan that in and have it in the show notes.
Get a workaround. Yeah. Fuck
Yeah. if you want to see
I like that a lot.
Fuck
Paul
the
and I
police.
on our anniversary, you're welcome to. These are probably my favorite photographs of myself that I've seen probably since I was like 6 years old.
Yeah, you gave
When I was like, oh man, my hair is really cool in this photo where I've got this like mullet. I like it. But no, these
Billy
are
Mitchell?
the best.
we gave ourselves like we made our eyes bigger, our skin a little bit lighter, just like
We're not wide enough.
the one where
Let's change that.
the one where you're looking.
You know what I
directly-
wish? If I could change one thing about me. Can I be more Anglo?
Oh man, but yeah, I was super happy with how those turned out.
Yeah.
That was-
I'm glad that I made it in time too, because this was the time spent in that photo booth was a lot of fun. Because what they do is they show you on the screen, they show you these two Japanese models and they're posing. And what we were doing was just trying to mimic their poses. So each one of these photographs, except for this one here where my face is out of frame because I thought the camera was higher than it was.
well, I thought you thought that it had already
That it
taken
had
the
taken it
picture.
and I went to
yeah,
stand
and
up.
so you stood up after it did that. But yeah,
So these are all the poses that they were making on the screen.
yeah.
So it was a fun little game we made for
I think we
ourselves.
fucking killed it. I think
Yeah,
I think
no,
we
we
need
crushed
to,
it.
We need to submit this to a Japanese modeling agency. That's what we need to do.
What I'm going to do is the next time I get my driver's license renewed, I'm going to bring this with me and see if they don't mind if they can snip
Can you
it
make
out.
me look like this?
Yeah.
Ichiban lipstick for men.
You know,
my God.
You're welcome, Taryn.
But yeah, it was a great time, especially for a fucking dork like me who just is obsessed with those rhythm games.
it was fucking loud in there.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, I opened the door to walk in and it was just like sounds like just doom, 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 like from every fucking machine. Like it was just like it to be fair, it's Weird Al, but like last Wednesday I was at a Weird Al concert and I was thinking, yeah, that wasn't as loud as it is in this small room.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed on some of the rhythm game players, not the DDR pump it up players, because obviously it preclude this, but like for Sound Voltex or Beatmania or any of the ones that are like taps of different kinds, those machines have headphone jacks in them, so you can
Plug your beats in.
Yeah, like you can get like your. I noticed just about everybody brought their own headphones so that they
That's
could
smart. So they can actually
so
hear
that they
it.
could be focused on their music and not so much on all the other noises.
They brought in their horse blinders as well.
You got to take this seriously, man.
Yeah.
They're Adderall horse blinders.
Exactly, that's what I was to say.
This is the real shit right here.
No, man, I don't take that orally. I shoot it.
Rhythm games are life and death. Haven't you seen the FP? Sorry, this is a bit of a deep cut. There's
No.
I'm sorry that was met with stares.
there's a movie called The FP, which is like an old 80s movie where all the fights are resolved via Dance Dance Revolution. Like apparently there's been an apocalypse And so these gangs fight via Dance Dance Revolution, and they're not very good at it. Like that's like a little piece that I really hope is just part of the meta joke of it. That like this is like maybe level 5 stuff. Just
I like that was a bit of a deep cut.
I swear to God, like this movie was on Netflix. I'm not just pulling it completely out of my ass.
No, I believe that it is a movie.
This movie was on Betamax. It's not that deep of a cut.
It's the novelization of
They're working on a sequel, so that's a thing. Yeah.
FP2,
Yep.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yep. But yeah, so sorry that my references are too insider for you.
No, you're just too cool for us. That's a problem we run into a lot.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything from round 1.
All right, good. The important stuff. Galloping Ghost.
Yeah, now I don't get to talk anymore.
Yeah, no, you were there. Yeah, I'm pretty silent on round 1 because it's like, well, I was there for 30 minutes and I took photographs where I pretend to be in love with Paul, which I am, just not in that way. We're in love. Just not the same way I love Billy Mitchell. That's all.
This is a different state, and other boys don't count.
It doesn't count.
I read that.
What happens in Illinois doesn't count. Said everybody lived in Illinois ever. Sorry. Oops, that was mean. Oh my God. Galloping Ghost Arcade, which is near Chicago. It's not exactly in Chicago, but it's close enough to say Chicago, I think. They are the largest arcade in the world. At least that's what they claim. I didn't count the machines, but they say...
I did go to a place that said they had the world's best hamburger.
Really?
Yeah.
And?
Wendy's?
Yeah.
Like I saw on their site they have over 400.
400.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget the exact number. But
I think they just say over 400.
Yeah.
Because they swap them out, I assume, and they lend them out to they lent out
a bunch of
cabs
the
to the con.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I man, this place is amazing. This place is amazing. I know what I want to do for my birthday. I want to go back to Galloping Ghost because I could spend the weekend there. That is no fucking exaggeration. There's so much there and so much shit that you cannot play anywhere else. It is amazing. They've got Primal Rage 2, which never came out, but they have a prototype machine with the alpha on it. And it is not a good game.
I was wondering how long we were going to take to get there.
But it is an interesting game. I want to talk about it specifically because, Tyler, I have a question for you. What do you think? What do you think Primal Rage 2 would be like?
It's the one where you're a worshiper. You play a human that you beef yourself up so you can be eaten and properly restore your
It's a vore simulator.
fight. Yeah. yes. It's gonna be our helmet. It was that's why it never came out.
It's just too disturbing. Just too much.
You're pretty close.
No, one guy played it and he's still jerking off. It's too good. They couldn't release
We
it.
can't do this. You're pretty close because you do not play as dinosaurs in this
See,
game.
I'm basing that off of the picture you put on Twitter.
You do not play as dinosaurs in this game. It
That's
feels
dumb.
It is really dumb. They took the one thing that was good about Primal Rage, and they were like, I feel like they missed the point. I feel like they were like, well, Primal Rage is a game about gods who happen to be dinosaurs. Everyone seemed to like playing gods, so Primal Rage 2, you play as gods and not dinosaurs. So you play as the next avatar, the next avatars of the gods from Primal Rage 1.
And they're all humanoid.
They're all
something
humans.
you probably wouldn't be able to see in the screenshot all that well is that you're at least 20 times bigger than an average human. In the
Right.
background you see these tiny little people that
you're
are
the followers.
yeah, kick his ass, God. That kind of shit. Yeah.
It's a giant simulator, giant fighting game.
Titans, essentially, is what I thought
okay.
they looked like.
Now, if you did a specific combo, they turn into their previous forms for a second.
Yeah,
which,
they do a pre-programmed combo. So like you hold down like the 3 kick buttons, and the avatar will transform into like Vertigo, for example, or one of the characters, Sauron or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Lizard.
they'll do a pre-programmed combo and then transform back into their humanoid form.
Yeah, this is what the people really want.
Just a second. Just a second of it.
So I didn't think it was horrible, but the fact that you're not playing as fucking dinosaurs like really takes the shine off of that.
Yeah.
Really, really does. I thought the character models were kind of interesting.
Yeah, like the animation of it, like it almost looked like claymation.
Yeah.
Like, which was weird, but like it was
What do
visually
kids
interesting.
love? Clay fighters and Greek gods. All right, smash them together.
Dinosaurs, you're fired.
What I would have loved is if those avatars still because it still had the moves from Primal Rage 1 where they're like pissing on each other and shit.
Exactly. I do think it gave me like the idea of why hasn't okay, you know how D&D is kind of has a history of being fast and loose with their license as far as video games go. Why haven't they been like, can someone make a fighting game with our Pantheon? Because I think that would be a game that I would love to play.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting. I could see something with that.
I want to play. Somebody they mocked up art for it for the Game of Thrones 2D fighting game, like a Street Fighter style. Fuck yeah, it's so good. But there's one arcade game that I read about it, and I'm really interested in playing it. It's a Japanese game where you play as Sonic the Hedgehog in a police car teaching kids the rules of the road.
The traffic safety. Yeah. We looked for that too because like you found it, I think, on Reddit, and it was like, oh, we got to do this for the show.
Yeah.
And could not find it. I did not see that at Galloping Ghost Arcade, unfortunately.
So if it's not there, we're not going to fucking find it.
There were a couple of Sonic games there. There was the Sonic Champions. That was where we played the Virtua Fighter, but with Sonic characters, which they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel for some of the characters for that. Like the one that I played was what was it? Fang the Sniper.
The Sniper.
Like you know, like some of them just they weren't even I don't know what animal that was supposed to be.
Right.
Like
We're in a gray area.
Yeah, but
Greg the Circle.
but
Kids like shapes, right?
they also had a Sonic game right behind the Primal Rage 2 cabinet. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it was one with like that controlled with like a roller ball, you know, and it was it had like Sonic. It had, I don't think it was Tails. I think it might have been Knuckles. I think Knuckles was the other play. And then the character that I played was Ray the Flying Squirrel. Yeah, that seems like an iconic character.
You didn't decide to play as Bullwinkle?
But the thing that really caught my eye about the marquee is that it had like a sticker on it that looked like, you know, original art, but you know, it just says even more blast processing. And I was just like, that's amazing. That is amazing that is a thing that they said. But
Even deeper USB ports.
They had a lot of weird shit there, which is amazing.
They had Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which we played for a little bit.
So got to experience that. I did turn into Mecha Jackson. I know you were curious.
Yeah.
It did happen.
We got to play Time Killers, which I know Dave has mentioned on here before briefly.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it's the fighting game where you play like characters from different eras, and like you can hack off each other's limbs and shit. You know, so
that's what it's known for. Like that is like
that is the
dismemberment.
one thing about it that is unique at all. Just the fact that you can dismember your opponents, and like if you do it just right, you can take off their head. You know, like that's the finisher.
And it's not just like as a fatality. It's not like a dismemberment fatality. It's like, oh, there's a strategic advantage to hacking someone's arm off because they cannot use it in the fight. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool, but it is a shitty fighter.
Yeah.
Did not hold up to how I remembered in my childhood.
Speaking of shitty, one of the other super rare games they have is they have a Beavis and Butthead arcade game that was location tested in multiple places, And like I remember reading the history of it. You know, they said that they location tested it back in like the mid '90s when Beavis and Butthead was still really hot. And I was like, I wonder why they didn't bring that out with such a popular license. And then we played it, and it was like, oh, it's terrible.
Immediately apparent. Like it is like immediately apparent. Like as soon as the gameplay starts and like I saw the sprites, I was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
And like the music is like, I couldn't wait for it to end. I wanted to walk away from it, but it was it was so loud that I felt like it was now my responsibility. Like Beavis and Butthead became my burden. It's like I have to die so that I can walk away from this machine, so that the entire part of the arcade isn't.
Yeah. But it was, that was not a good game.
They had a game called Mission Craft, which immediately, I'll have a link to this in the show notes. I'm not sure how familiar you are with StarCraft, Tyler, but it is straight up like I walked by, I saw the marquee that says Mission Craft, and I see all this like appropriated Blizzard art, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I start playing it. It is like a 1942 style vertical shooter where you just choose one of the factions and then you get a flying unit that's special to that faction, and you fly around and you shoot stuff. It's actually, I thought, not that bad.
They had a few Japanese Konami games. They had Metal Gear Arcade, which I didn't know was a thing. Like it's you sit down and you have like a big ol' assault rifle gun, and like there was something like it was like a set of glasses that came with it. I think it was so you could see in 3D, but they were like broken in half, so I couldn't use those. And like apparently it has like look controls, so like you can make the camera move based on where you're looking, But
so that had to be like perfectly accurate.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, it was disabled because the glasses were broken.
Oh,
but
sad.
so instead, I was moving with a analog stick that was built into the gun, which that was convenient enough, But like it was just like a team shooter type thing. It was basically a less interesting version of Gunslinger Stratos.
I was just about to compare it to that.
But
what were the big differences you'd say between those two games?
The big difference being that there's not really any visual style to it, like I mean it's a drab military shooter as opposed to fucking crazy anime characters and look at an Officer Titty over there, all that stuff.
Close. The answer I was looking for is 20 years.
But so they had that. They had the arcade Silent Hill game, which what do you think? What kind of game do you think a arcade Silent Hill game is?
A stealth game?
It is a light gun shooter.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Here's how good it is. I was like, I'm gonna Deadpool it. Like no one's in this cabinet. And they've got like a curtain, I guess, for atmosphere.
Yeah,
like
make it
so
darker
dark
in there. I can appreciate that at least.
So I grabbed the left gun, I grabbed the right gun. I'm like, we're gonna fucking do this. That game is so boring. like I thought even with like having two guns, it would be fun. It ain't fun.
Yeah.
It is not fun. Like it.
All
like,
the enemies are super samey.
You can tell they're trying to build suspense, but it's very difficult to do because like that suspense is ruined by light gun shooting.
Yeah.
And like comical deaths because it's like you're shooting people, you're shooting monsters and they're reacting. So like you see like the flashy gun bullets showing up on them and it like destroys anything that they're building.
I wish one of the characters would just be like, man, this isn't a problem at all. Like, why doesn't anybody else bring a gun here? Just. But they also had one that I didn't know existed until I came here. A Castlevania arcade game, like a Castlevania. Kind of a light gun shooter. Like it didn't like it wasn't calibrated properly, so it was basically unplayable. But
it was very difficult. I feel like it would be anyway.
Yeah, like it was not kind to the player. But
they give you a flashlight essentially.
Yeah, it's like a flashlight, which is supposed to be the handle of your whip. So, but you apparently also have a gun. So like you use it to aim at the screen. It's got like a little reticle to show where you're aiming, or like 3 feet off from where you're aiming in arcades. You know,
right.
you know. But the thing is that you can either shoot by pulling the trigger on your flashlight, you know, or you can like, you know, flick it really quickly and it'll do like a whip mark across between those 2 points, like where it was pointing and where it's now pointing, you know. And so anything that's in close range, you hit for a lot more damage because everybody knows whips are stronger than guns.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think that's been proven.
Yeah.
in countless Indiana
it was one of
Jones
those things
movies.
where, like, if that game was working, I would have sat there and tried to play through it more. Like, we stepped in there, someone had left the machine, and it was like just at a boss fight. And I swear to God, like he would hit it, we would hit him like a couple of times, you know, just trying to be like, okay, so if I aim like off screen by a couple of feet, it goes over there, and then I can hit him like and then he would hit us once, and we're just dead.
We were dying
you know?
every 3 seconds.
Yeah,
Like, that
so-
is not an exaggeration. It
Yeah.
was like every 3 seconds. It was like, continue?
Yeah, and I'm like, it's on free play, and then after like the third time, I'm just like, okay,
This
not
isn't
good.
happening.
Yeah, so that was one that if they fix it up, I'll give it another shot, you know, because I want to see how it plays when it's actually working, you know. But
It looked cool. I thought it looked good.
yeah,
And
and I'm genuinely intrigued by that mechanic of the whips. You know, I mean, that may not carry all that far, but you know, the other game that I was glad that you got an opportunity to play. They used to have this at Game Galaxy. They don't currently. Was the Outfoxies. It's just a thing like you play. There's
Is that
a
like
bunch
the
of
Cheetah Girls?
It's a game with, you know, you have a bunch of different assassins that you can play as. Like one of them is like this twin brother and sister. One of them is like a dude in like a super high tech wheelchair. One of them is a monkey.
Yeah, lines up.
he's hit monkey.
Burger King
essentially.
Kids Club, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And then there's
Ooh, that's a good mod. I want to see.
and then there's John Smith, who is the most boring protagonist.
Well, he's a Mormon, so.
But yeah, like, you know, you go around and like weapons are dropped in these different arenas. But what's interesting about it is that the arenas are affected by the stuff you do. You know, like and tell us a little bit about the level that you played, Dave. Like this.
I was in an aquarium, and there was a giant whale hanging from the ceiling, and there was a tank full of sharks. And what actually is really cool about the game is it's kind of like a zoomed out view of, like, imagine you take an aquarium and you split it in half, right down the middle, cross section, and then zoom out a little bit. And there's multiple floors to it. As you control your character, you move from floor to floor. There's an elevator and stuff like that. And what's really neat about it is, as the time progresses, the level essentially forces you closer and closer together. Like, for example, for 40 seconds in, I don't know, shrug, sometime into the game, the aquarium starts flooding. And what that does is, all of a sudden now the sharks can swim out of their tank into the flooding water. So if you're in the water, the sharks are going to eat you. So it forces both of you up floors, forcing you together and making you fight each other. And then all of a sudden the whale snaps off of the ceiling and falls down. So like now you're fighting your opponent on top of a floating whale model, essentially, while sharks are trying to eat you. So it's cool, like the level itself evolves as you're fighting on it.
Yeah, that's the big selling point of it, I feel. Is
It was
that
cool.
The levels have a lot of detail to them that, you know, get affected by some of the stuff you do. Sometimes it's just timing. Sometimes it's like what damage you've caused to things.
I found a game at Galloping Ghost, Tyler, that is essentially the X-Men arcade game. However, it's better. And it is tied to a licensed property. I'd like for you to try to guess what licensed property
It was also made by Konami.
Yeah.
So better than the X-Men fighter made by Konami that have to be the Suikoden fighting game.
Close. Bucky O'Hare. And
Wow.
I'm not shitting you when it's like, I saw it and like on a lark, because I loved the Bucky O'Hare comics when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I had the action figures and I was into it. I didn't watch much of the TV show, but I saw it and I was like, I fucking owe it. I owe it to Bucky O'Hare and Billy Mitchell. This
Praise be.
yes, all hail. I was like, I owe it to Bucky O'Hare. I at least have to try this game once. And I started playing it, and my initial reaction was, this kind of feels like the X-Men arcade game. And then I played it for like 20 more seconds, and I was like, yeah, but this is better. Because it like had deeper mechanics to it. I was playing as Blinky, which I'm sure you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Is the robot, and he had this hover mechanic where it's like if you jump and hold down the jump button, he slowly falls back to the ground, and that's unique to his character. So like each character had these unique qualities that go beyond their special move. But like the disappointing part was their special move was essentially all the same, which if you think about it, it was the same thing in X-Men as well. It's just it had different animations.
Yeah.
It was a really fucking cool game. Like I was so like out of all the games there, that one surprised me the most because I went in expecting a completely shitty game, and it was like, holy God. I want to finish this game.
Billy Mitchell, I want to finish this game.
Billy. So I'm trying to think of other things that were there.
Is the Galloping Ghost like the one we go to in Nashville where you just pay an upfront fee and everything's set to free play?
Yeah, it was $15 and you got to play for the day. Yep.
That's awesome. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I on their site, they have monthly, yearly, and lifelong passes. So it's like, when I was leaving, I was actually thinking like, could I live there? How close could I live to Galloping Ghost Arcade? Because, man, I would spend all of my free time there, I think. And like, I could honestly go there probably every day for a month and not get bored. Like that's how much stuff that they have there.
Yeah, it's friggin' crazy. Just the sheer volume of stuff that they have. Their electric bill must be insane.
Is it set up on different floors or how is it laid out?
It's all one floor. It's all one floor.
Rooms,
it's like
though.
multiple rooms.
Okay.
Like I wish I had a good.
I took a few photographs that are on the Twitter, but like they don't really.
The
give a
main
good
room
representation.
is probably like just a teensy bit bigger than the floor at Game Galaxy in Antioch, and then like it has another room that's just kind of a long hallway that's probably evening out to about that size again.
Yeah, and
then another room that's smaller than that is like I said, a bit smaller than that.
Right.
So, that's the best I can do in terms of size comparison.
it's like it takes up like half the block.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
pretty good.
It's that big, and I mean they've got the cabinets. I mean, side by side. I mean, they're packed in there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like enough room for them to ventilate.
Yeah.
And like they've got room in between the backs. But I mean, it's row after row after row after row of cabinet.
It's at the point where I don't know how they would expand any further. Like I think they would just have to rotate machines around, to be like, okay, well, this one's going out and this one's going in,
It was really cool, and it's like every time I would turn around, there would be a game that I either wanted to play or had never seen before, and it's like I wanted to try them all. There was a Capcom side-scrolling plane shooter that I had never heard of called Pro Gear. Have you guys heard of Pro Gear?
Nope.
It was like it wasn't even translated to English. It was really cool where it was like you chose your pilot and then you would choose your gunner. And then the pilot would be able to fire in a certain direction, and then the gunner would be able to fire in another direction. And it's like it's really interesting to see like these games that for whatever reason never came to America, but they still have that they have that '90s Capcom feel to them.
Yeah.
Really, really, really neat.
I wish we had had a little bit of time. I would have said we needed to play one of the Dungeons and Dragons side-scrolling beat 'em ups.
Yeah, they had a cabinet which had both of the Mystara games in it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have done it, but it was easy for me to be like,
yeah, we'll get to
because we got
that.
it on
I literally
Steam.
have that.
Phil
on
just bought us
Steam.
that. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like one of the things, like most of the game, I don't think all of them, but well, maybe, but they had like little cards that they set up at the top where it was where like they had the world record score on that thing, I assume provided by Twin Galaxies, and then they had like the arcade's high scores, like these are the highest scores that have been logged here. And like it was fascinating to see my score and see how just terribly low it was compared to all their stuff. Like the classic game that I'm probably best at is Tapper or Root Beer Tapper, depending on how late the machine was made.
One has the Budweiser logo, and the other
then
does
one of them
not.
just exactly, because it was originally designed to be put in bars, and then when they decided that they could put them in other places, like when arcades became more of a thing, they were like, well, we got to soften this up a little bit, So
This Bud's for you is literally on the screen.
yeah, so they changed. Yeah, so they whenever they have that in the screen in the game is like this one's for you, but yeah, so like that's probably the classic game that I am best at.
A&W missed out on a great opportunity.
But my all-time high score on that was when I was competing with Sam from Megalixir,
At Game Galaxy.
yeah, at Game Galaxy, and I wound up logging a score of I think like 130,000, which I've still never been able to get all that close to. But I look at the world record, it's literally like 8 million, and I'm just like, what,
man?
Fuck,
You'll get there.
Like the arcade high scores were more attainable. Like, if I could replicate this my personal best score, I would actually be number 3 at that arcade. But like then the top score at the arcade was like 800,000 or something like that. So it's just one of those things where I'm just like, God damn it.
Yeah. Well, they do sell those lifetime memberships.
Billy, damn it.
Yeah. Don't take Billy's name in vain.
Oh man. But
You don't want to go to Weebieville when you die, do you?
I like it.
They also, I'd like to close it by saying, Tyler, they had something which we would have to fight over as a Father's Day gift for our dads, respectively. They had a wall which had framed photographs of the Mortal Kombat models, which were all autographed. And they did have a Sonya Blade,
Ooh.
which I'm sure both of our dads
Would know
kill for.
exactly what it was. To be like, hey, is that? Oh man, is that the girl that could kiss him, make him blow up, and threw out the pink things? Man, I love that. Put it on the mantle.
Well, guess what, Dad? You'll get it on Billy Mitchell's birthday. I'll wrap it right now.
on Billy's Day. Every year we celebrate Great Billy's Day.
A great Billy's Eve.
We eat fried chicken and hot sauce.
Oh, dude.
Anything else stand out about your trip? Any commentary? Anything?
We talked about porn a lot on the way back.
Yeah,
That was
like
fun.
honestly, the drive back from Chicago went by so quickly because we spent about 3.5 hours talking about porn.
And I don't even know what prompted it. It was just like, it was like a...
You horny, bro?
Yeah.
Man.
Are you kidding? I've been at a con. Yes, of course I'm horny. It was one of those like straight up like Step Brothers thing where it's like, Paul's like, you want to talk about porn? Yep. And 3 hours later, we were home.
Are there porn pinball machines? Like where you would knock the ball into like a vagina?
Probably, right? You
I would think
that's
so.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I can tell you this: the Guns N' Roses arcade, or the Guns N' Roses pinball machine
machine.
at the con. You know how when you lose at a pinball game, they have the match where it's like if you match the numbers, you get a free game. That was a naked woman whose nipples were covered by the numbers that were matching.
Yeah.
So the 00 is really the one that you want.
Yeah.
That's actual material you can jerk it to.
They I remember
You're really, really
Take
fast.
Take it to the spank bank.
I remember there's a Playboy pinball table that had to be censored for certain markets. And There was one that I mean, I remember jerking it to it and to thinking about it because I was like 14 when I found it.
They never let me back in that arcade. To this day.
I mean,
It said free play.
went to the spank bank. That's what I'm saying. But and I also jerked it there. But just that
Where's your
scene.
bathroom?
Do you sell pants?
Yeah, that scene from Bad Santa. But no, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like themed after pool, like billiards, you know, and like it's just got a bunch of sexy cartoon girls on it, you know, like and like some of the shots you would make like on the little display thing, it would be a thing where you hit a thing and it knocks over a drink and like ice goes into a girl's cleavage, just like you know, like it was just one of those things where I'm just like, I'm sure I would be incredibly embarrassed to tell all of the internet that I found that sexy when I actually see it again. But
As they were making that machine, they were like, "Oh man, we don't have any art to use. Call the Leisure Suit Larry guys."
See if they have just laying around.
yeah, it was about that level.
Is
you know,
Sierra a
whereas-
thing anymore? I don't know. See if we can take some art.
But yeah, they had that. There's one that was produced more recent, like fairly like last few years. What's it called? It's called like Big Juicy Melons or something like that. And
Yeah,
you know, it's got these. It's got these farm girls selling watermelons. That's the thing. You know, they're
Oh,
wearing
yeah,
like
yeah.
Daisy Dukes and cut off shirts and all that stuff. You know, so
I'm familiar with that.
overalls and no topless overalls. That thing what I'm thinking about.
Those are just pants.
yeah.
oh man.
We had some good pizza in Chicago. That's the
Yeah.
only other thing.
Went to Giordano's, got a frozen pizza that.
Oh yeah, that's in my car.
Yeah, that's in your car. Hopefully that works out okay.
We actually had some hot pizza there though too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We
was
bought
good.
a frozen pizza to take home for my lovely wife, who was so kind to not be like, no, I don't want. I want you at home with me, your wife. You know.
She only complained some on the Facebook group.
And I also didn't mention that I live with Paul now because I gave all of my money to Billy Mitchell at the con.
It's what was required of you.
He set me free, is what I'm saying. I don't have any of my earthly possessions anymore.
You signed away your rights for the next like 20 billion years on the Billy ship.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But that's fine because we're gonna fly to my own star.
Oh man.
Well, I'm jealous, and I definitely want to go at some time.
I really wish that you could have
Yeah.
gone. I really, really wish that you could have gone.
Fucking stupid dying people in a hospital.
I know.
People in hospital need to eat.
Not give me my mashed potatoes.
Have you guys looked into Soylent?
I've looked into it
Well,
because
I
I
have-
want to try that coffee one that they I've seen
Yeah.
advertised.
Oh, that's interesting. I also want to try Soylent.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could just pump that into hospital patients for like 3 days while you come to Chicago.
Put them all on soil. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's no big
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
I hear it's not made from people.
They're really tired of that joke.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? They deserve that.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
If
That
you
is
name your
100%
product
fair.
Soylent and it is a food thing, then
Yeah.
yeah. I think they have on the bottle made from plants, something like that.
Well,
Oh man.
thanks for listening, everybody. You can find the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. So don't miss the next episode. We've got a bunch of shit for Dragon Con coming up, so it'll be an all calls next.
And
'Cause
then
we
who
need to.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta wait on Shadowrun because I want to do Shadowrun.
Oh, we gotta do it right.
and that's
Yep.
the next thing on Digital Trends Genesis list.
Yeah.
So, and I think I'm down to break that into 2 parts so I can actually finish that game.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that.
Sweet.
Hey, if you like all this, we still benefit from 5-star reviews in every capacity. So iTunes, go find TADPOG, give us 5 stars, write a review. You can do that on Stitcher. We're selling t-shirts on Amazon.
Yeah.
So on pull up Amazon, type in TADPOG, you'll find our shirt. You can buy one, or you can just leave a review. It's whatever. I mean, prefer you do both, but I mean, if you don't want to, you can just leave a review.
As long as it's funny. It has to be a funny
It needs to
review.
be funny.
Yeah.
Give us your
Or an
A material.
extreme bummer, like a really
Ooh.
extreme bummer.
Oh,
A good juxtaposition.
This is the perfect shirt to buy if you need to wrap an entire litter of dead puppies.
Or your suicide note. If that's where you want to put it, it's fun too.
The shirt does say Tyler and Dave play old games. So if you could compose a suicide note out of those letters, just anagram it, leave that as a review.
Oh my god.
What else do I say? If there's a game you want us to play, a guest host for an episode, or a Patreon request, we have all the social medias. Got all of them.
We own it
All
in
of
our
them.
pocket.
All of them, I think. There's probably more. I don't know. So Facebook and Twitter, that's all of them. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
So get anything to us, whatever you leave in a review or tweet at us or send us a message. We promise we will get to that eventually.
Don't worry, guys. Like Tyler said, we're going to be back. We're going to be doing an all calls. In the meantime, you can always find us at tadpog.com. That's where the show notes live. I'm going to try to include in the show notes as many of the games as I can remember that we mentioned, which was a fucking lot. Also, hey, do you want to verify that the FP is an actual movie and not just some fever dream that Paul had while he was jerking it at an arcade?
In that crowded bathroom.
The link to that'll be in the show notes. Also, hey,
Remember that time Zach jerked it in a strip club bathroom?
no.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
When was it? I remember going to the strip club with Zach and then him getting like a lap dance, going to the bathroom, gone for a walk, come back out. Yeah, I jerked off.
Oh.
They have like 3 bathroom attendants in there.
Yeah, because of people like you.
Would you like a towel? Yes, please.
Oh my god.
Wet nap. Yeah, it's probably best.
Sir, please get out.
Tip, please.
You can also find us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/tadpog. There's a lot of cool people there doing a lot of cool shit. Hey, if you're on Facebook, do me a favor and like us on there.
Please validate all this work.
I need it. I need validation. I do. I'm a very fragile person.
Keep the bee gun out of your mouth.
Absolutely. We're also on Twitter. You can find us at tadpog_podcast. It's cumbersome. I realize. Thank you very much to everybody who is retweeting us, especially our episode announcements. By the time this comes out, it'll be like 3 days old. But if you go back in our Twitter feed, you can see a bunch of stuff that I shot at Galloping Ghost.
I'll take some of it and put it on Instagram too.
Awesome. If you would like to call us, you can do that at 270-883-2555. Leave us a voicemail or send us a text, and I promise I will fuck it up. We do have a Patreon. Hey, did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy all this arcade and come talk? If you did, you can go to patreon.com/tadpog and donate some money there. We do a bonus episode each month. If you donate $1, that's going to get you access to all the bonus episodes we've done in the past and ones that we're going to do in the future, as long as you're a donor. I would like to go ahead and say that September's is probably going to be a little late.
Yeah, there's just
because
a lot
of
shit
Dragon
going
Con.
on. Yep.
But that'll be out. That'll be out as soon as it can be out. So don't fear, it's going to be out. We have an idea of what we're going to do.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be good.
If you want to send us anything for a game you want us to play or food you want us to try, good or bad, anything like that, please send that to Tadpog Studios, care of Nicole Nance, P.O. Box 3785, Paducah, Kentucky 42002. I mentioned the Instagram. There will be more stuff on there. So Tadpog_podcast on Instagram. Thanks, Paul. Thank you again. I thanked you last time, but that was days ago. So
Yeah,
thank you again for
so
coming
long
on.
ago.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the trouble of driving out here twice.
Again.
I know.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
And you're even more drunk this time.
Oh God, I need my medicine.
That pizza in my car from Giordano's.
Giordano's.
Where's the place?
Michael
that we ate?
Jordan.
Michael Jordan's pizza place. That's really old now. You
Yeah.
probably shouldn't eat that.
Oh, I'm gonna. I'm gonna.
Let's see. Our two fucking moves, let's come drive, that track is on the show notes, tadpog.com. How do you want to close this one out?
Like our favorite god from D&D.
Okay.
We all know what they sound like, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So until next time, a tropical Capricorn.
I am Palor.
I am a little Mara.
I will not tell you my name.
Oh, Vecna.
Check 1, check 2. We got words. We got those vibrations up on the screen. Hey, this is Paul Korn saying howdy to all the ladies out there in Radio Land.
That fart I just did is going to hit you guys in a minute. So
Nice.
I also like the phrase I use, that fart that I just did.
That fart what came out my butthole.
In a moment, you guys are going to smell the ghost of a quarter pounder with cheese.